So hi everyone, thanks for joining us today, and thank you, Francisco, for speaking. I know you've spoken at a number of our events in the past, and it's always great to have you, so thanks for coming back. So Francisco Remolino is a licensed insolvency trustee with over 15 years of experience finding solutions for clients in financial crisis. Along with his proven track record of success in helping individuals and businesses handle proposals and bankruptcies, Francisco brings a unique perspective and humanistic attitude to his approach. Numbers won't tell the whole story. Francisco's first focus is on you. In addition to running the practice, he is also a sought-after financial management authority who speaks for organizations and conducts workshops on topics such as money and risk management, financial forecasts, and debt assessments to both debtors and creditors. Thanks for your presentation today, Francisco, and good luck.
Thank you. Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are all enjoying the conference today, and thank you for taking the time to assist to this particular session. Today, we are going to talk about dealing with debt post-pandemic. I am an insolvency trustee, and I think it will be interesting to have this discussion, especially because as we heard, a lot of businesses and individuals that hurt through the pandemic and how that looks like once this is all over or once we kind of regain some sense of normalcy. So I'm going to share the slides that I have prepared for this presentation, but please feel free to share your questions, anything that you would like to know, and also at the end we will have some more minutes to discuss any questions you may have. So one of the things I have been advocating for on all my presentations, but also throughout my practice, is how insolvency can be used to really help on financial recovery. And that applies to both businesses and individuals. For our chat today, I think it's important to kind of frame it from the financial crisis, and I'm gonna say crisis just because it was a shock for everybody that we have been through for the last 18 months. More so how it has affected small businesses. So the initial reaction from the superintendent of bankruptcy around COVID and how it will impact businesses and individuals will be, almost that there will be a total collapse of the economy, which hasn't happened, and that is great. But what is true, though, is how small businesses have been affected by COVID and how it has also changed the way small businesses do actually work. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to have a discussion as to how today and how in the near future insolvency can be used as a way to recover a business, either in the sense of restructuring the business for a going concern, or understanding that those businesses that were already struggling and that they are no longer a going concern, then can be just shut down, understanding and taking care of all the implications that comes with that. So a couple of topics we're going to discuss today. One is the initial considerations, and I think it's important to have this discussion around the basic topics in terms of what insolvency is and what has to be considered before looking into an insolvency process. And the second part is more specifically about a business proposal to creditors, which, as I will explain, is a plan to repay a portion of the debts. This is just the standard disclaimer to confirm that this is the discussions we are having here today are general discussions and they are not considered legal advice. I would suggest that if you have a particular and specific question about a client or someone that has a particular situation that we can connect once this is done, and I'll be more than happy to assist you with those questions. So the initial considerations that we're going to discuss are a few: type of businesses, type of creditors, personal guarantees, directors' liabilities, and owners' intentions. This will certainly frame the discussion that we're having around what is important and when an insolvency is actually the best way to go. So for the type of businesses, we are referring to both corporations and sole proprietors. You'll be surprised how many businesses are still operating as a sole proprietor. I have several clients that are operating a restaurant, for example, as a sole proprietors, and it certainly comes with some benefits, but I think the liabilities that any business owner face as a sole proprietor are way too much to bear, as opposed to having a corporation. Also understanding that the corporations come with its ups and downs, but once a business, and I'm sure some of you as accountants or controllers understand that once a business starts to have their own corporate taxes or payroll, then it's better to operate that as a corporation. When it comes to insolvency in general, a corporation is a separate entity, and as such, we will have to look at the entity and its own complexity. So how the entity will be affected by either a proposal or a bankruptcy, and also who else will be affected by this. Just so we all remember, in a corporation, certain debts of the corporation will still be transferred to the directors, and we're talking further down about directors' liabilities. But again, that consideration is certainly important as to whether or not an insolvency is the way to go. When it comes to a sole proprietor business, which is an extension of the individual, then what we'll be looking at is really a personal insolvency, either again bankruptcy or a proposal, and how that insolvency then will also affect the individual's affairs in itself. Now, having a business that operates as a sole proprietor, the problem that you face then is if you were to file any kind of insolvency, then that may also affect the way for the business to continue operating. More so when filing a proposal, just because again, the intention of the proposal is to ensure that the business is also operating. But I guess in a proposal, we'll have to face both the business and the personal debts. Again, talking specifically here about a sole proprietor. Type of creditors. So we now move into kind of the other side of the table, and we're looking into what type of creditors are included in any insolvency. And for the most part, we're looking at both unsecured and secure creditors. Especially in a proposal, and especially in a business proposal. And the reason for that is because you want to ensure that the business that we're trying to assist takes care of as many of the debts as possible, so that it can guarantee that the plan that we have as a going concern, the plan that we have going forward, will certainly be successful. So a business proposal allows for the inclusion of both secure unsecured creditors, landlords, and everybody in between, including sorry, I think that would be the main three of those. But I also think it's important to understand that once we have a business, then again, we just need to ensure that the business in itself will be operating going forward. And what will be the main consideration to do that is whether or not there are any assets to protect for the business, and or that the operations of the business is important in the sense that it is required for the business to continue operating and to continue active. Unsecured creditors, as another type of creditors, are normally included in any kind of proposal. I mean, those are creditors for which there's no any type of guarantee, like regular bank loans, credit cards, lines of credit. And those are also included in any kind of insolvency, for that matter. And also taxes, which are for the most part the largest creditor, and again for the most part because it's not necessarily the case on any kind of business insolvency. So we talking about corporate taxes, HST, and payroll. I think it's important to understand that when it comes to any debts to CRA, even though corporate taxes and HST are unsecured debts, meaning they will be part of the proposal and they will be discharged once the process is over. One of the implications that is also very important to understand is the HST can become or it will be transferred as a director's liability, meaning the directors will also be responsible for the HST. It's considered a deed trust that will have to be paid, and again, it's also transferred as a director's liability. In the case of the source deductions for payroll, it's a little more complicated, simply because in a proposal, so the restructuring of a business, the source deductions are considered a super priority, and they will have to be paid within 6 months. The balance will have to be paid. Whatever is outstanding will have to be paid within 6 months of the approval of the proposal. And in some cases, that can be a large amount. So as a way of example, I had a proposal for a business that we started back in 2019. This is April of 2019, just at the beginning of COVID. And this organization, there was a staffing agency. They provided employees to grocery stores. Their source deductions debt was 1.5 million. And so part of the negotiation of the proposal was not necessarily the quantity of how much will have to be paid, because that's standard and it has to be paid in full, but more so whether CRA will allow for an extension of the 6 months, understanding that for most companies to pay that amount of money in 6 months is almost impossible. So finally, after a year of negotiations, we were able to extend that to 24 months. Again, the rule is for the source deductions to be paid within 6 months, but it is possible in certain cases to extend that for a little longer. Now, in terms of personal guarantees, as you may be aware, especially most new businesses or new business owners are required to provide personal guarantees. Business will not really have much of credit history, or so having lines of credit or operating lines of credit on their own without guarantees is almost impossible. So if the business is at some point in some financial trouble, if the business is considering any kind of insolvency, personal guarantees from any individual in the business, directors or shareholders, owners, who knows, they have to be considered. And I think this is a very important point to discuss at that moment when the insolvency is being discussed, simply because, again, personal guarantees will obviously just stay with the person that is guaranteeing the loan or line of credit or credit card or whatever the instrument is. And so understanding how an insolvency, a business insolvency may affect that. As I mentioned about the director's liabilities, this is also something I think is critical when looking into a business insolvency, partly because, as I mentioned, also taxes is normally a big part of business debts, of the business liabilities, and as a result, understanding how the directors may be affected by this process is it would also determine what exactly is the best way to go. And as I mentioned before, what is transferred as direct liabilities are normally HST, but sometimes the corporate taxes are also transferred, and this is in the exceptional cases, really, that corporate taxes are also transferred as the director's liabilities. But that normally, I guess, the reason for that to happen is if there was a distribution of dividends during the time the business was already insolvent. So even though corporate taxes are normally an unsecured debt that would just go away with any kind of insolvency, in certain cases, the Canada Revenue Agency may determine that not to be the case for corporate taxes. Again, we already know the HST will be transferred as a direct liability, so the consideration should be really around how that will affect the directors, and again, if that's the case, how to deal with that. This last portion of the owner's intentions is not necessarily like a standard consideration, but I like to have a discussion around that. And I think it's my personal introduction to the list of considerations, mostly because I believe it's very important to understand or to really get a sense of what the owner's intentions are. And by owners, I mean, the group of shareholders, I mean, who really own this business, and what is it that they would like to do? I think when we first meet with somebody that is going through financial difficulties, whether a business owner or whether an individual, they come with this bag of problems, and they just want you to take it away. And that's mostly what we do. We really take, understand the situation, set up a plan, and we take it over. But at the same time, when somebody has a business, either a corporation or either a sole proprietor business, what is also important to understand is what is this person's intention? I mean, do they really want to close the business? Do they just want to shut it down and move forward? Or do they want to just restructure it in a way that the business can continue operating? And I think greater consideration has to be given to that. Because for a lot of people, this, the business they have is the kind of way of living. So they don't really know anything else to do. A restaurant owner, for example, that they've been operating for, 10 or 15 years or 20 years, that's all they know what to do or how to do it. Whether or not successfully, that's a different question. But I think it's important to understand the owner's intentions before a plan is set up and before the plan is put in place. From the insolvency perspective, the plans are normally much more rational and much more geared towards ensuring the business is solvent or insolvent, and what's really the other side of the coin once this is all over. But from the owner's intentions, again, is I think there's a larger impact in terms of this person's livelihood and what will be the plan going forward. Sometimes you ask a person, okay, if this business is shut down, what do you want to do, or what are you planning to do? And they have no idea. So I think, again, insolvency is always available. Insolvency, I really believe that provides a plan for a business to restructure and move forward. But the owner's intentions are very important in understanding exactly how that plan should really work, and how that plan should be applied. And the second portion of our chat today is about specifically about a business proposal. Again, I'm trying to show that a business proposal, as a way of restructuring a business, as a way of helping a business to become stronger, as a way of helping a business to deal with the creditors, and then having a plan that would really ensure the business continues as a going concern, is certainly helpful. And I've seen it through my years of practice. I've seen businesses that do really, really well after going through insolvency. So part of my my discussions in any presentation is to show and try to remove a little bit the stigma around insolvency, around proposals, but also around bankruptcies, understanding that those are legal options that may be helpful, or actually could be very helpful in a particular moment. So when it comes to a proposal is, simply put, is making deal with creditors. So you said to the creditors, or we said to the creditors as a team, this is the situation of the business. The business has this much debt. The business has this much assets right now, current assets, liquid assets, but we also have a future plan. So going forward, this is what we expect to happen. And as a result of those three elements, this is what we're planning to do. So the idea is to offer to the creditors as much as possible, in the sense that there's an incentive for them to support the proposals, to support the plan. And for the most part, especially in a large business, but a business where many suppliers are involved, is also to guarantee that there will be a healthy relationship going forward for both the business and the suppliers. And again, that understanding what the implications are of the proposal, in the long term, there will be a mutual benefit to everybody. And so again, the proposal is, as I mentioned there, you can normally offer from anywhere from 10 to 50%, or sometimes less, sometimes more, and normally up to 5 years. Normally 60 months is the standard proposal to creditors. However, it could also be longer. It could be made for as long as it takes. As long as it is approved by the court. One of the caveats of a business proposal is that it is a court-driven process, meaning all the actions of the process are approved by the court. So as such, as much as there is a standard process, a standard procedure, then by going to court, you have some flexibility in terms of the terms of the actual proposal. In a proposal, we also have the ability to include all creditors, including secured creditors and unsecured creditors. So we also can include suppliers, employees for termination pay. There's judgment creditors, and as I mentioned, CRA, which is again one of the largest creditors to almost all business facing financial issues. When it says here that certain days must be repaid in full, it's specifically referring to the source deductions. I think, as I mentioned, the source deductions have to be paid in full within the first 6 months of the court approval, unless it has been approved otherwise. We are kind of getting close to the end of our time, but I really want to allow for you to have any questions, to let me know if there's any specific point of what we just discussed that is important to you that you would like to know. And before I let you go, I think I wanted to mention that what is in one of the benefits of the proposal is that there is a stay of proceedings, meaning the creditors will have to stop all legal actions at the time the proposal is done. The owners always keep control of the business. The proposal trustee's role is to monitor the business. So until the proposal is approved, we have to ensure the business is operating as planned. And again, just a final point that a proposal to creditors can only be filed through an insolvency trustee. So insolvency trustees in Canada, which we are the authorities to deal with the insolvency process, we can only deal also, we deal only with insolvency processes, but also the proposal of bankruptcy has to be done through an insolvency trustee. I wonder if there's any questions on the floor. Anybody would like to have any additional information? Alex.
Hey, yeah, I just want to jump back on and say thanks for your presentation. Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like there's no questions in the chat yet. So I guess just to wrap up, what's a key takeaway, or maybe one or two key takeaways that you want someone to take from your presentation today?
For sure. Let me just. I think a couple things. One, it's important to understand that there are options available to deal with debt. More so with business debt. And when we were talking about the initial considerations, it was referring to the key points of doing that. So when you have a business and the business is struggling with that, you want to understand, what are the best options available? How will that affect the business in itself? What is the intention of the business going forward, right? Are we trying to shut down this business? Or are we trying to restructure the business in a way that will continue operating going forward? What are the liabilities or the other liabilities that will result once the process is established, meaning directors' liabilities? So who else is going to be responsible? And the one consideration that I think is very important is the intentions of the owners. What is it that you would like to do, right? Do you just want to continue operating, or you want to restructure it and sell it? There's many options that come out of that. So all these considerations are important. And once the process is established, it's also good to know that insolvency, either bankruptcies or proposals, allows for a business to restructure and either shut it down or move forward, which I think is the plan in the long run.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, and thanks again for speaking today. It was a really great presentation.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Always glad to have you. So just to let you know, so there is a recording available of your presentation. So if you or anyone watching would like a copy, feel free to let myself or Francisco know, and we can certainly provide you with that. But thanks again, Francisco. It's really great to have you.
Thanks, Alex. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Have a good afternoon.